You're listening to
Wrestling to the Max.
Alert, clear all channels.
This is an exclusive.
How you like that?
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Still an awesome theme that I haven't heard in a long time because it's been one of the longest times I've seen Naomichi Marufuji wrestle. But Gary, his theme song would probably be right up your alley as far as techno themes go.
Oh, you know it. I love my techno.
Basically the song just says "Here we go," and then it just goes in this awesome techno thing. So this is night one, whether you're listening on the actual full podcast itself or whether you're listening on the solo portion of it. This is night one of the G1 Climax 26. They're taking a big break after this. Not until Friday morning do you have another show, and then after that it gets crazy. So we both need to enjoy our little rest that we're going to get here, Paul, because he won't get another one for a little bit.
Yeah, and that Friday gap's going to suck too because I got to close Friday. I'll probably turn around, come home, watch G1, and then if we do a show after that, and then I'll go to sleep and have to turn around and close again Saturday. So, I'm looking forward. We're going to look like evil. Much like Twitter was saying during this entire time by the time we're done.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, if you did not watch it last year or this is your first time watching it or just, you're just listening along with us, they have tag matches that they do that feature the block that will go the next night. And then they have the actual G1 Climax matches. I sort of like this because it's not from the moment that you start up the show, they're just going balls to the wall and you don't even get to catch your breath. This kind of eases you into things and you get to build up the stuff, build up a little bit of a feud if they don't have one from a previous match or anything, like we're going to see in this first match. But some of them, they haven't wrestled in a long time or they haven't wrestled ever, and this is the first time, and so it's a way to kind of build getting some kind of heat for this going into the big G1 match. I mean, I know you're a veteran of having watched both versions. Which one do you sort of like more?
Honestly, I kind of like this a little better. It gives the undercard some time to build you up instead of just a long string of G1 matches, and especially sometimes a lot of those matches will get thrown under the bus and get some shorter time limits. I remember, God, I'm trying to remember my first one. I want to say it was 2010, 2009, something like that. Is the one Makabe ended up winning. I want to say it was 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
When they still had both blocks going throughout the entire month, and it turns into a crawl at some points because you're seeing a lot of the same stuff over and over again with different guys, and there's no break, there's no differentiation. So I kind of like this. It's like a palate cleanser before you get to the big stuff, and I think it's much appreciated on my end.
Yeah, so the first match was Tiger Mask, Jushin Thunder Liger, Manabu Nakanishi, and the never openweight champion Katsuri Shibata. Of course, he's partnering with all the old guys after he earned their respect. And they're going against the Bullet Club Hunter, Captain New Japan, Ryusuke Taguchi Kushida, the current junior heavyweight champion, and Tomoaki Hama, who will be his opponent for the next night of G1 shows. Of course, they just met on the 3rd for that never open weight title match as well, so their feud is sort of fresh. I thought this match was fine. There wasn't anything too special. I mean, other than Shibata like going 110%, like this was the final of the G1, and you know he had no problem. I love the him punching CNJ too, and he was getting a little hot about, hey, I'm running wild on everybody. Oh, well, there he goes. But what did you think?
There's a lot of great little fun bits in this that make this a great opener. Shibata, like you said, going 110%. Like, he has Hanma down in the corner going for that basement dropkick that he does, and he just runs him right the F over with the dropkick. It's absolutely brutal, for lack of a better term, and for me trying not to curse so much. Captain New Japan, there's a large moment of the match where his team does not want to tag him in because he always loses, and now they know it. And if you followed along on Twitter during this entire thing, the Twitterverse was just great during this. Whenever anybody went to tag and they didn't, because Captain New Japan wanted to tag and they tagged in somebody else, the entire Twitter just was wonderful to follow. Like people's like, yeah, I wouldn't tag him in either. He's off. This was fun. Nakanishi ends up getting the win here with the Argentina backbreaker, but you know, it's always impressive to watch a tree wrestle and get a victory.
Yes, it is, and of course you also have the people that were like, "I'll just tag the damn guy in already," which those are fun too. The best part is Kushida with his head in his hands, like, oh man, that's it, we're done for now.
We're done. Match over.
So you have first time since April 24th, 2005 in New Japan has Katsuhiko Nakajima wrestled. In that company, of course, he is teaming with one half of the GHC Tag Team Champions in Toru Yano, going against Juice Robinson and Satoshi Kojima, who, of course, would have been in the G1, but he gave his spot to Hiroyoshi Tenzan, and we'll see him later on in this show. Now, again, this is one of those matches, I think it was a little bit better than the first one, mainly because Juice Robinson carried this thing, I thought. Whether it was him selling or him having to be on the offensive, I thought Juice was really the sort of, maybe he wasn't positioned to be the star, but he was the main focus of the match, either on offense or defense, and then you kind of had the guys filling around him. It was, I did like you got enough from Nakajima and Kojima to kind of make you want something between the two, and I think that's enough. That's all you needed.
Yeah, Juice really was the glue for all this. Yano is Yano, Kojima is Kojima, and I love Kojima because anytime he's in a tag match with somebody who's not Tenzan, and even sometimes with Tenzan, he's pretty much screaming at him the entire time from the corner, trying to tell him what to do and hype him up and everything, and it's just wonderful. Nakajima is in this weird position almost of what's happening now in Japan with New Japan and Noah and the vested interest there from New Japan having in Noah, that Nakajima is sort of earmarked as a guy that was going to be big for Noah, now that Noah is sort of almost treated like a feeder system, it seems, for New Japan. There's lots of talk that Nakajima gets brought on to New Japan full time and is, might be a part of Chaos and all this other stuff, and I think Nakajima gives Juice a lot of room to really let Juice show off, and then Nakajima comes in and just murders them with some kicks and stuff like that. But I thought this was a fun match, personally.
Yeah, I liked it, and I mean, that was the thing, too, during the press conference, is Naito kind of just blatantly asked Nakajima, like, hey, man, are you just auditioning for Chaos? Like, why is Chaos so great? Like, you should be wanting to be in the Los Ingobernables instead, but that's fine. When I beat you, it won't matter. So, it's just, yeah.
God bless Naito.
Exactly. I love the fact that he would just get on his little soapbox in the press conference and just make it fun. Then after this, you get, of course, when you got Yujiro in the match, it's bound to not be as good. You got Yujiro and multicolored pants Kenny Omega against Geto and Yoshihashi. I thought Omega was funny here. Geto was being Geto. Yoshihashi was working hard like he always does. And Yujiro looks like I don't know, he looks really creepy with the 70s porn star look he's got going on.
Yeah, I mean, but that's Yujiro at this point, especially when you hear the song play at the end. He's still got the sexy sax music. So yeah, I mean, he breaks up Tokyo Pimps to put Geto away, which I love that move. I mean, everybody else is sort of your standard fare here. But man, there are times I question how much, because I really like Kenny Omega. There are times I question why I like Kenny Omega.
Yeah. I did like him choking Geto with the, was it the mop or the broom or whatever it was?
I think is the broom.
Yeah. That was funny. And him just shouting out like, look, he's a junior. He means nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, it wasn't too long ago you were a junior there. So, and him shouting though, hey, I'm winning this thing. Letting you guys know I'm winning this thing. So we'll see if he even gets close on that final day. But then we get what has always been fun. Every time you get Los Ingobernables in a tag, they are wonderful. And you get Bushi Evo and Tetsuya Naito in here against Finlay, your IWGP Intercontinental Champion, and Michael Elgin, and Yuji Nagata. And, man, this delivers. This was the best undercard match, hands down. This is very good. So much fun. All the guys going hard. Michael Elgin was just destroying Evil, and Evil was destroying him, and Finlay was murdering Bushi with uppercuts, and yeah, this was some good stuff.
The match is super fun, but my favorite part's the end. Nagata's recovering on the outside. Los Ingobernables are sort of daring them to come back in and get some more, and Naito does the little flippy roll thing into the layout thing, and instead of doing the eye thing, does the Yuji Nagata salute just to taunt him and be the wonderful asshole that he is, and your heart grows just a little bit more fonder whenever Naito does stuff like that.
Yeah, he also basically does his lay down thing, like right in front of Nagata in the corner. He does not care. He's like, hey, I'm tranquilo right here. Like, it does not bother me. I mean, you made the mention because we also had a post in the group because we have a few people that actually live in Japan that were watching live as well. And, Elgin is just, I mean, watching him last year and getting to see him grow through that tournament, and then this year he's coming in as one of the men that you're being looked at the draw, and just, hey, that dude is over with those crowds doing those moves.
It's so, I mean, Elgin was great in this match too. The one-arm press slam on Bushi, the fall away Samoan drop combo is always awesome to see too, but like everything Elgin does, that crowd eats up with a spoon, and it is so impressive for somebody who's barely been there for a year, and is a foreigner at that rate too, to be this over. Not since maybe a Stan Hansen or a Vader or something like that have I seen somebody. And Michael Elgin is perfect for the strong style mold, by the way. You can't take that away, but it's mind-boggling. It's so mind-boggling how over he is to me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and he also, he just evolve. He continues to evolve his moveset. Like, he didn't do I don't know if he's going to keep doing it, but he took that delay suplex that he made a big part of his matches last year, and he basically just flat out did a brainbuster. So, he continues to change things around, and I really appreciate that about him. It's maybe you get some of the stuff you're going to get from him, but there's always something special that he brings out in every one of his matches. And so now with him taking on Evil, in the next contest, and it's going to be Nagata and Naito. And I forgot to mention it'll be Kenny Omega and Yoshihashi as part of your deal. And Nakajima's taking on Yano. That should be fun, depending on
That'll be interesting.
depending on the chaos. If he's really trying to be a chaos affiliation, how hard he goes against him here. But let's get into these G1 Climax A block matches. The first one was the man with the story. This is his last G1, Hiroyoshi Tenzan against the Chaos member Tomohiro Ishii. And man, did they give you everything and more. Lord, it was two bulls going at it, literally headbutting each other, chopping each other, Mongolian chopping each other, lariating at each other, just, it was so good. And then at the end, just all the stuff with Tenzan, and Ishii was just doing every freaking lariat he could do, and Tenzan was like, no, I'm not going down, and he gets the moonsault and he wins, and it sets the tone for how many is he going to win, is he going to be there to the final. But your first match, and it's already a great match.
This, all credit to Tenzan, who more than pulled his fair share here, and for somebody like me who is not a giant fan of what he's sort of turned into as age has caught up with him nowadays, he can pull it out when he wants to, as we've seen, and he definitely went for it here. Him and Ishii just beat the crap out of each other for 15 minutes, but I'm such a big fan of Ishii. I picked him to win this match in my the pick'em, and I was wrong, as I was for most of the evening. But Ishii is just so good in this role of making somebody else look so tough, so impressive, and just Tenzan looks like $1 million after this. He looks like he is set to take on this tournament and almost win it. If I didn't know better, I would have almost picked him after this match to say he's going to be in the final, but I don't see it. I see him making it to that last day in contention and just losing it there. But Twitter, once again, was another star here too. People were just fangirling over Kojima and how behind Tenzan he was. Like, there's so many super best friend tweets out there right now. They're totally worth your time to go find.
Yeah, and Kojima was awesome too, because he was yelling at him like he gave up his spot for him, so he wants to make sure that Tenzan's really gonna do something in this tournament, and so he's barking at him, like you mentioned in the tag matches, and he's cheering for him, and just by the end you're sitting there going, I think Kojima's a believer now.
Mm-hmm.
He certainly knows that Tenzan winning this means that he can do something, and I really appreciate that. That's just not everybody has seconds come with them to the ring, and it's just, and a lot of times they wind up just being there, and not for Tenzan. And then he also used the cozy lariat too as a way to start get the front slam and then do the moonsault, and that was the best part of it, was just that ode to his friend, that ode to his partner. Just great story here. And again, unlike Paul mentioned it, but Ishii, honestly, for me, he should deservingly be in that Wrestler of the Year conversation, if you want to have that conversation right now, because the dude has been nothing but consistent all year, and he's had so many very good, great matches. And, I mean, we're just talking about day one of the G1. Who knows by the time we get done with this if he's one of the standouts.
Yeah, I mean, and he's in the block where that is completely possible, because it's got all of these giant names and great athletes and, bad luck Fale, but he's in the block to make a name for himself, even though he already has one, as being almost like Mr. Reliable, Mr. Unbreakable, seemingly. The dude, he's just got this aura around him. There's videos of the press conference that they play around with, too, where Ishii's back in the suit. I'm like, God, he just looks so badass.
Yeah. talk about like he just carries himself like I no hate on Cesaro, but maybe Tomohiro Ishii should be the James Bond of imagine that Ishii just
As a James Bond, I would not want to fuck with. I tell you that.
exactly. Think about that.
He will headbutt you into oblivion.
Right. So we go from one guy you don't want to mess with to another guy who's at least he's gonna barrel through you. And Togi Makabe, of course, he is a former winner in 2009, as Paul noted. Of course, Hiroyoshi Tenzan 3 wins, 2003, 2004, and 2006. And Makabe taking on Tama Tonga. This was sadly the worst G1 match of the show. In fact, it could almost be in contention for worst match of the entire card. In my view, just there was points where the crowd just didn't care. They really tried to do the whole kicking out at one thing and it did nothing. And they tried to do the elbow exchange thing and not a whole lot going on. The best part was the finish where Makabe is trying to do the spider suplex and he has to wind up doing a belly-to-belly spider suplex instead of the spider German. And he gets it. He gets the King Kong knee drop and wins. It's what I expected. I got the first 3 right. I got the first 4 right, and then I messed up on the last one for these matches as far as the pick'em goes. But yeah, I hope Tama Tonga gets better as this goes on because he really needs to do something here.
He does need a good tournament. I don't think this match was particularly bad. It was only unmemorable in comparison to, one, everything else, because there's no way in hell you're going to follow what Tenzan and Ishii just did there unless you were one of the main events. And secondly, the way that Tama Tonga is coming out of this Guerrillas of Destiny tag team is just not... It's done him 0 favors. It's killed everything he did already have going for him before that tag team. I will say he looked great in this match on my end. I think the energy was there, the drive was there. He was trying with all of his energy to get these people to care about him, and it doesn't help that Togi Makabe doesn't have anything really big going for him either. But yeah, I think they did what they could with each other, and you got what you got.
Yeah, I mean he was able to keep him from doing the 10 punches, and yeah, he really did at certain points look like he had a lot more energy than Makabe did, and maybe this is one of those where Makabe knows his opponent, he took the night off. Maybe it's one of those where obviously he's fought with Tonga or in those tag matches and everything, and perhaps he doesn't have that thought, and maybe he's already made up his mind about Tonga, and so
Very possible.
It's one of those things. It all depends. It's the same thing we talk with Tenzan. It's going to be the same with Fale. It's going to be the same with a few guys. It's all about who you're wrestling that night and what you got that motor on or not. So I don't think we're going to see the Marufuji that we get in the main event every single night. It's all going to depend on who you're wrestling that night. So. Mm-hmm. We go on to Hirooki Goto against Bad Luck Fale. This one was a bit surprising because I sort of thought, okay, I mean, I did pick Goto, but Fale is one of those guys they do like to keep strong, mm-hmm. and they want to make him be the monster, and always these tournaments he always gets 8-10 points, something like that. This was pretty good. Goto was sort of being smart, doing submissions, trying to wear him down, and very smart of him to change his finisher now because it works really great with Fale. You don't have to try to lift him to do a Shouting Kai or even a Ushigoroshi. You just do the GTR. That worked out for him here. This was good. It wasn't anything overly too impressive or whatever, but man, this is what happens when you make a finisher so huge. Every time somebody's in that bad luck fall spot, the crowd gasps. Mm-hmm. And you would probably never get that today in a WWE or whatever because they don't protect their finishers like that. But just That's amazing that nobody's kicked out of that finish in like 3 years.
Right. It is, and it's something New Japan puts a lot of effort into. You see the same thing with the Rainmaker. That's been super protected. The only one that really jumps to mind that's not super protected is the High-Fly Flow. That's sort of almost out the window at this point, but Tanahashi always hits like 3 or 4 of them, so it doesn't really matter. But
Right.
I will say, like, I picked Fale to win this. I bought into the usual hype that he has around him come G1 time where he wins a lot of matches. Goto does still have that built-in story about he joined Chaos for a reason, and that was to get back on track, to find a way to get to a position where he could be the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. There's a story you could follow here in this tournament where he ends up getting a lot of wins, maybe beats Okada finally, and puts himself in line for a title shot before the Dome comes around, which is something I unfortunately did not think of while I was doing my pick'ems, but it's always good to see Goto get a win. I'm a giant fan of his, and Fale is good at working with certain people, and he has his moments. And this was solid. It wasn't anything super special, but I mean, when you look at what you have at the end of the night, I almost think these 2 matches needed to be what they were.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard to get something really good out of Fale. You know, you got to have the right guy, and I'll say the fans were certainly into Goto, so that's a plus for him, because sometimes you get that, do we believe in Goto, do we not? So it starts him off at a good pace too, and I mean, there's people floating that around. I know Joe Lanza made the thought of, what if you have him be the first guy that wins and loses the briefcase? It would go on with his story, but it was certainly a surprise. So we get the big match that I think a lot of us had thought would be the big upset. I certainly had picked SANADA to win this. You get Hiroshi Tanahashi against SANADA, 2 disciples of Muto, and these guys went out, and you can already see the Tanahashi. Now, he still had his High-Fly Flow from the apron and all that stuff, but you can see the Tanahashi wrestling a bit smarter. SANADA was going after the injured shoulder, so he went after the leg. And so it was them going back and forth, go after the arm, go after the leg, go after the arm, go after the leg. And so it made the big moments feel so big, because it's, man, which one's going to go down first? And Tanahashi kept kicking out, and SANADA had to put him away with the 2 moonsaults, and then got him to tap out to the Skull's End. I mean, you can't get any more definitive than the way SANADA won here.
I picked SANADA to win this match. I picked SANADA to have a huge tournament. I have him coming runner-up in Block A. But, this was so good. It was a smartly worked match. Tanahashi selling the arm, even though I'm sure there's not a lot of selling he actually needs to do for that arm.
Did you see that where his bicep is not even in the right spot?
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
And Tanahashi, to his credit, goes out here and turns in a performance that only Tanahashi can do, and it's 2,000% all effort, everything he can give you. And SANADA just kept pace with him and happened to be the better guy on this occasion. And they're going to establish SANADA so very strong in this tournament, I feel, and this won't be the first upset for him, I feel.
Yeah, I had him doing a big upset too. I mean, it's possible that they still do it, especially after what happened here on in the next match. But just this was great, especially what you expect out of these 2. You get it here, and definitely a match to certainly watch when we come down to picking some of the better matches in this whole G1. This was just great. And so we go on to talking about the main event, which is IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada against the still pretty much the ace of Noah, Naomichi Marufuji. And again, I should reiterate, if you're not familiar with this, basically if you beat the heavyweight champion, usually you get a title shot in the time leading up to Wrestle Kingdom. So Naomichi Marufuji from Noah winning here shouldn't be a surprise. Like, this guy is huge name as far as Noah goes and their history and everything. But I mean, he turned it on here, and talk about, Paul, I mean, working on a body part and working on it the entire match and just being so smooth with it. Like, he found ways to go from one move to the next to this submission to, just anything he was doing, he would try to find a way to get it in there. And it's just, man, it's a work of art at times doing that.
I've never been a large Marufuji fan. He's always come off as fairly derivative to me. That being said, he was outstanding in this match. His age, I think, has made him better because now he's sort of created the style of blending what he used to be, which was a fairly run-of-the-mill junior heavyweight wrestler, in my opinion, to somebody who has blended that very well with a heavyweight style of wrestling. And you see it in his holds, you see it in his attack on Okada's arm. His kicks were brutal, his chops were brutal. Okada is selling like the dickens. I really thought Okada was going to pull this out somehow at the end. I had picked him to win this, and I only had him taking one loss the entire tournament. That was to SANADA. So him coming out and losing here, man, that was a big shock to me, and especially taking it the Emerald Flosion. It's this was just so good. It was so well worked, and for everything that SANADA and Tanahashi accomplished in the co-main event, these guys, I think, surpassed him by a hair.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The hair is right there, fine, and surpassing him. Just I love the way that Okada was able to switch the slice bread into a neck breaker. I love the ending. I mean, Okada's great at this countering of the Rainmaker into other stuff, and so that was no different here. Marufuji does this, like, basically where he can twist his leg when he does a super kick, which makes the kick, like, even more awesome. So he did that to Okada a few times and, like, got him pretty good to where it, he pretty much could tell. I think he did it straight to the arm one time. It's like, wow. That's not feeling good for him. And Goto, of course, being a terrific cheerleader on the outside too, like, Rainmaker, just get up, come on, let's go. Like, just everything about the match worked. And again, now you have something that everybody else can pick apart for the rest of this G1 on Okada. Do they keep going after that? It's going to be interesting. And, Marufuji, will this be like the one shock and then he kind of sort of has a middling tournament after, or is this priming him for, you think this cements Marufuji is like one of the guys you got to watch out for now, or you think this is just a shock to do a shock?
I think it was more a shock to do a shock because I think there's going to be more of a push to make Nakajima look good out of all this, other than the two Noah gentlemen here. And that's not to say Marufuji's going to have a tournament where he loses a lot. I still had him, I think, getting 10 or 12 points overall. So this really shocked. Maybe Marufuji does go out and have a huge tournament and turns out to get further than I ever thought. But it's not like I had him doing poorly. But this was just more than I ever expected.
Yeah, I thought the shock would come just like you on the next night, or the next time the A block goes with him and SANADA, because Okada already beat SANADA once. Mm-hmm. And then you can have the third match when you have the title match or whatever. You can have Okada win there, obviously. But yeah, so just to go down the standings again, you got Togi Makabe, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Hirooki Goto, SANADA, and Naomichi Marufuji, all with 2 points. And of course, Okada, Tanahashi, Fale, Ishii, and Tonga all have 0 right now. So it's anyway. I already kind of outlined the big G1 matches for the next time on Friday. So that's going to conclude us talking about night 1.
We got Super J Cup on Wednesday too, don't we?
Yes, we do. I know we have a Battleground to preview, but I'm trying to think if we need to do something separate or just do it on the show. But yes, we do have Super J Cup first round on Wednesday in between that. So, man, gonna have a lot of wrestling to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. So lots of great stuff, and I can't wait to see what we got in store for you guys later this week. But, we just, one last thing. We want you to always remember, for myself, for Sean and Paul, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Hey.
Later.